Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to my studio. So what have I got for you lovely lot today? Well, it's something a little bit different. It's going to be a picture or a painting with a little bit more detail than I'd normally paint, and it's got a bit of a fantasy vibe to it. Now, I know a lot of you like to paint in a more loose, free style, but I always think it's good to challenge yourself and try different things. So let me explain. A couple of weeks ago when I showed my recent sketchbook, a few of you rather liked this fantasy house that I made up and asked if I'd do a tutorial. So let's go for it, and we're going to be having a go at painting this fantasy house from my imagination. So come and join me and we'll paint this step by step together. Okay, so for today's materials, my paper is some Bahong Academy. It's 300 GSM, it's 100% cotton, it's on a block so it won't need stretching, but as always, any decent watercolour paper will do. My colours today are cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium orange, cobalt blue, some burnt sienna, burnt umber, Payne's grey. And just 3 brushes from my range, 3/4 inch flat, number 12 and number 6 round. And here's the pencil sketch, which to be fair is quite complicated, so as always a free drawing template is available to download from my website, link in the description below. And for the ink work I'm using this unpronounceable Micron graphic pen, but any black pen will do as long as it's waterproof. Even a black ballpoint pen works well. Now, with all my line and washes, I always like to get plenty of character into my line work, so lots of wobbly lines, lots of gaps, as I don't want this to look like a technical drawing. So this whole inking stage took me well over half an hour, so I've speeded it up quite a lot. This is the real-time speed. I think it could be a bit boring if I kept it like this. For me, having the pencil work there is a huge advantage. To try and do it straight off would be difficult and probably take twice as long. I also find this stage quite relaxing because most of the hard work has already been done. Now make sure all your ink work is nice and dry before rubbing out. We don't want any smears. Off we go, and using my flat brush I'm wetting the complete sky area with clean water, just carefully going around the house here. Then straight in with my flat brush and some cadmium orange, just painting along the horizon here. Then using an equal mix of cobalt blue and Payne's grey, I'm just letting this blend into the orange below. A flat brush is just perfect for painting along these straight edges. Touch more cadmium orange here. While still wet and still using my flat brush, I'm using some fairly strong Payne's grey here just to suggest a few darkish clouds. And again, while it's still wet, I'm just dabbing out some of this orange colour where it appears on top of the trees. So now we need to let this totally dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break. And as it's too early in the morning for a beer, I've got a nice Lindt hot chocolate. Next for the tree, and I'm using my number 12 brush on my normal mix of cadmium yellow and cobalt blue for the green. And I've added in a little cobalt blue to make it darker, and even a touch of cadmium orange to give a slight autumny feel. And for these trees way in the distance, a very light wash with a combination of bluey and yellowy greens. And this tree is next to the house, so I'm painting it in a slightly stronger colour. Oh, and mustn't forget to fill in the gaps between this balustrade, just here using my number 6 brush. Next for the little rocky island, and I'm using a combination of burnt umber and Payne's grey and just giving it a fairly flat wash to start with. And making sure I don't paint over the area where the little waterfall is. Now, while still wet, to add a little bit of interest, I'm dropping in some Payne's grey. Next, I'm taking a plastic store card and just dragging out some of these washes to create some highlight sides. And also it just slightly damages the paper to create this grainy effect. Next, I'm taking a darker version of the same colour and just dropping it in here to create some shadows and to help give contrast between the top and bottom of the rocks. Just a few little bits of bluey grey here in the waterfall. Now with some Payne's grey, I'm just putting in some dark details in all the windows. And for all the roofs, I'm using a 50-50 mix of burnt umber and Payne's grey, but really you could paint these in any colours you like. Ideally not bright pink. Next, I'm painting half the tower and all the house bits with a fairly flat wash of yellow ochre. Make sure you don't paint the shutters. And I think I'll leave those stone arches and paint those in a different colour. Now for the staircase here, I've just slightly darkened by adding in a touch of burnt umber. Now for the shadow side of the house, I'm now using my number 6 brush and a mix of yellow ochre and burnt umber. Now for all these fancy decorative bits, I want a sort of bricky colour, so I'm using a combination of burnt sienna just with a touch of burnt umber. And this little bit sticking out is supposed to be a gargoyle or something similar. And just giving it a double hit here on the shadow side. Let's go for some burnt umber for these arches, and I'm leaving those little shields unpainted. And to darken these shadows under the arches, I've just added in a touch of Payne's Grey. Same colour here for all these details. It'll help to give it an oldie-worldy wood effect. Let's break up those stones with a touch of Payne's Grey. It's funny, I do find it quite satisfying not having any reference photo to copy. I'm just inventing things as I go along. Burnt umber here for the brick chimney stack. And when that's dry, a second hit on the shadow side. Now, if you're wondering what that little black arrow and the word open is in the bottom left-hand corner there, that's just the little area of the block that's not stuck down, so you can peel your sheet off the block when you're finished. Now for the shutters, and you can paint these in any colour you like. I just think blue's a nice complementary colour to the house. And we'll also put the family crest in blue. Right, now for a graduated shadow on the tower, which will help it to look round. So I'm starting by just wetting the whole tower with clean water. Then running down a fairly light wash of Payne's Grey along that left-hand edge. And a little shadow under the eaves here. So let's paint in the lampposts and all the shadows along the balustrade. A few more shadow details on the rocks. And I'm going to paint the little boat in the family colours of cobalt blue. And slightly darker at each end. Now we mustn't forget Arthur here. He's the butler and he loves to do a bit of fishing on his day off. Now he's the only one who's got the key to that little door. And this little terrace here is where the family have drinks when there's a gorgeous sunset. Okay, so now it's time to paint in the lake, and I'm starting by wetting the complete area with clean water. It'll just give me that little bit of extra time to put in the reflections. Now I'm using cobalt blue, but I've put in a little bit of cadmium yellow just to sort of turquoise it up a little. Then using my number 6 brush with a more concentrated version of the same colour and painting in these vertical reflections, straight in wet in wet. And I'm trying to line these up with the darker areas on the rock. Next I'm taking my white Posca ink pen, you could use some white gouache, and I'm just putting in a few little white highlights here and there. It'll just add that bit of sparkle. Now, I missed out earlier the reflection under the boat and some of the rocks. Very important, needs to help to ground the boat on the water. A few little shadows and ripples here and there, I think. Okay, so now all the colour work is done. I'm coming back with my black pen and just bringing out some of these lines which I feel have got a little lost. There we go, all done, and this one, including the pencil drawing, was about 3.5 hours. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and you'll give it a go. And as I always say, make it your own. You know, build your own little fantasy house on that island and just have fun. And in the meantime, please don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. It is free. Computer graphics. Leave a comment. I do read every single one. I can't always reply to them all, of course. And I look forward to seeing you again next week for another Watercolour Wednesday. Take care, everyone, and have a great week.